Deuces. Parker out.
So I just finished watching that new Spider-Man show with a name so long that I don't even want to say it, and it was odd.
Yo, fam, Steven Sherman here.
You don't know me, so I just want to get it out there that I'm a massive Spider-Man fan, and I have been one since I was a little kid. Ever since Sam Raimi made those movies, I just haven't been the same. And as a true Spider-Man fan, I have not watched The Amazing Spider-Man 2, and I'm not gonna watch The Amazing Spider-Man 2.
You're a fraud, Spider-Man!
I have also read at least one comic book, so I know what I'm talking about. Sorry if I'm yammering, I just really don't want to talk about this show. The trailer alone made me mad. My reason for being mad at the trailer is something I want to talk about at the end of the video, so you're gonna have to wait for that. And even though I hated the trailer, I sat and I waited. I waited for the show to come out because of course I'm gonna watch it, and oh my god, I didn't think it could possibly be this bad. I'm going to get this out of the way. If you legit think this show is woke garbage, please click off this video. That is a dumb opinion, straight up. Yes, Chadwick, I'm talking to you. I could read your IQ on a thermostat. So we aren't going to be talking about stupid culture war nonsense. We're here to talk about Spider-Man, god damn it, not middle school pipelines. There's also a side of the Spider-Man fan base that really like this show, and if you like it, that's fine. You can like this show. I just hope that you can watch this video with an open mind and take in a new opinion. This show was released in weekly episode drops, so each section will be written right after I watch each drop so you can see how my opinions change throughout the show. I don't recommend that you watch this show, but if you want to, I'm gonna put a spoiler warning right here. And without further ado, let's talk about Spider-Man. First order of business, we gotta talk about this animation. This shit is ass. I don't want to beat a dead horse, but this animation is just so bad. The way that these characters move, look, and act is just straight up disturbing. And it's crazy to me that people defend this animation by saying, oh, it only looks like that because it's trying to look like a comic book. Okay, it still looks like shit. I don't know where this notion came from that if something is from a comic book that it automatically makes it good. Batman used to use guns in old comics, but I think we can all agree that Batman shouldn't use guns. So frankly, I don't care that it's trying to look like a comic. It just doesn't look good. The show looks downright unfinished at times. Another thing I want to mention before we get into the story is this show's comedy.
You know me, clumsy Petey Parky.
This shit is so unfunny. These jokes feel like they're written by new Family Guy writers, except they're not allowed to say the word fuck. But even with these issues, if the story is good, I'd be able to stomach it. Episode 1 opens up with Aunt May dropping Peter off at school, but there's a portal. We are one scene into the show and I'm already upset. First of all, Doctor Strange is blatantly incompetent and has a complete disregard for human life. At the beginning of the fight, he gets the symbiote under control and then for no reason he goes, "What? Where are we? We aren't supposed to be here." And then just loses control of the giant monster so it can wreak havoc in the populated school. We see him save like one person, but you're telling me that nobody got hurt or killed by all this damage? And to top it all off, the way that he beats this symbiote monster makes it seem like he doesn't even care. He gets a hold of the symbiote again, casts a little spell, and then just flies right back through the portal. Please tell me, Mr. Doctor Strange, I gotta know. Why didn't you just do that in the first place? He could have just done that from the start, but he had to have a Vietnam flashback. I fully blame this all on you. You might want to lawyer up, Mr. Stephen Strange. Doctor Strange is supposed to be the master of the mystic arts. He's supposed to be calculated and methodical, but in this show, he feels like a drunk idiot. Also, a quick little nitpick, his voice is disgusting. He sounds like a gym teacher.
We're not supposed to be here.
And why does he quip every time something happens?
You gotta be kidding me.
Overall, I hate this scene. It's a bad representation of who Doctor Strange is, and it's a very jarring and chaotic way to enter the story. They even try to make me sad about Uncle Ben dying before the show even started. But this is the first scene of the show. I have no reason to care about this version of Spider-Man or Aunt May or even Uncle Ben, who we don't even see. At the end of this scene, Peter Parker gets bitten by a random portal spider and dies in the street. We then have a time skip and a little parallel of the first scene where Peter Parker is running late for school, but this time he has a Spider-Man suit. Oh boy, I can't wait to see how cool his suit is.
What the fuck are you wearing?
I really don't care that it's a homemade suit. This shit's fucking ugly. And I will say, even though I don't like the animation, this web swinging looks pretty good. The first scene that we see of Peter Parker as Spider-Man is him saving Harry Osborn from being mugged. So the mugger attacks Spider-Man with a brick and Spider-Man proceeds to do this. I think if you know about Spider-Man, you know what's wrong with him smashing a kid's head with a brick and giving him a concussion. If this was a fully grown adult like a Fisk goon, for example, I would not have a problem with this. But this is just some dweeb who wants Harry Osborn's lunch money. His friend's name is Stevie Sherman, for Christ's sake. And you might be thinking that since this is a first-year Spider-Man, he can mess up like this, and I agree, but they don't treat it like he's messing up in this show. They completely disregard that what he did was bad, and they play it off as a joke. To me, the first scene of Peter Parker being Spider-Man should be impactful and show how heroic and virtuous he is, and this scene just didn't do it for me. Also, why the hell are these kids live streaming themselves robbing a celebrity? See, Based Barry knows what I'm talking about. You tell him, Based Barry. Peter Parker gets to school, and now it's time to talk about something that I liked from these 2 episodes. The character interaction is mostly pretty decent. There's some moments that are really bad, but it's mostly pretty good. There was one scene that I liked in particular, and that was when Peter got assigned as Lonnie Lincoln's lab partner. Initially, Peter thinks Lonnie is some stereotypical jock and only wants Peter as his partner so that Peter can do all the heavy lifting. So Peter ends up treating him as such.
Right. Sorry. Stoichiometric compounds.
And then we learn that Lonnie Lincoln's actually pretty smart and he's just a normal dude. This scene gives us a more realistic high school setting, which is something that you don't typically expect from Spider-Man media. This also gives us a glimpse of old comic Peter, where he's a judgmental asshole in high school. I just wish that he was consistently like this and not just trying to be Tom Holland most of the time. One thing that I gotta point out is how Lonnie's voice actor is doing a much better job than everybody else.
Cool. Big plans? You're just gonna chillax.
Eugene Bird makes Lonnie Lincoln feel like a genuine guy, someone that I would have been friends with in high school. So I just wanted to give props to Eugene Bird. Good job. Also, did you guys know that he's the guy who fucks Eminem's girlfriend in 8 Mile? I just learned that while making this video. Now, this next part might ruffle some feathers, but I'm gonna say it anyway. I did not care for the Civil War homage scene.
What?
Nothing about the scene itself made me mad. It was more about what the scene made me think about. These first 2 episodes have been praised because of all the changes it has made to the Spider-Man mythos, and it might be too early in the show for me to say this, but it feels like a lot of these changes are made just for the sake of making changes.
It insists upon itself.
What does that even mean?
Oh, look, his friends are different. Hey, look, the spider that bites Peter comes from a Doctor Strange portal. My point is that most of these changes are boring. To me, they feel hollow and pointless, and this derives from the fact that we've already seen Peter Parker in high school 100 times. There's only so much that you can change. There's also some changes that end up making the Spider-Man backstory worse. What I'm specifically talking about is Uncle Ben dying before Peter gets his powers. I think this is just fucking stupid. This is a core value of Spider-Man that I think that you are not allowed to change. They even tackle this in 2 recent movies. Uncle Ben dying is a direct consequence of Peter misusing his powers for his own gain. This caused him to learn the value of human life and how fast it can be taken away. And with his great power comes this great responsibility. Spider-Man is really strong, and realistically, he would be able to do whatever he wanted. He would never have to worry about missing his rent or losing his silly little pizza job, but he chooses to do good so that he never makes that mistake ever again. This change causes Spider-Man to not have any reasons to be Spider-Man other than the plot saying that he is. This makes me question his convictions. There shouldn't be any ambiguity on what the main character's prime motivations are. The only thing that I could think of that could help fix this is if they make Aunt May the Uncle Ben of this story. We do get one really good thing from this scene though, and that is Coleman Domingo as Norman Osborn. I hope this guy got a bag for his performance because he is amazing as Norman and he's easily the best part about this show. Even though I didn't like episode 1, I was smiling throughout the entire first scene of episode 2 because I just loved hearing this guy talk. And it's crazy to me that people just immediately blow him off because he's race swapped in this show. I think the way we should view race swapping in media is the same way that we should view all change in media. There are many popular comic book adaptations that heavily change a character's writing or just the way that they are presented. And if it's not bad to change a character's integral writing, why is it so bad to do something as simple as changing their skin color? But we need to keep in mind that change can be done well and it can be done not so well. And I think that here it's done pretty good. Other than that, Episode 2 was really forgettable. There's a lot of stupid nitpicks that I could do, but I don't want to do that. So we're just gonna skip ahead to the stupid random fire guy fight. In this fight, Spider-Man is fighting somebody who's burning down an abandoned building. And while they fight, they do this thing where it turns out the guy's burning down the wrong building. And my immediate first thought was that Spider-Man was gonna have to save people from a burning building while fighting this guy. But then they just don't do anything with it. I've rewatched this scene like 4 times and I still have no idea what the fuck the point of that was. The episode ends off with Norman Osborn discovering that Peter is Spider-Man, which in most contexts is a very good idea. And I'm very interested to see how they're gonna use this to create the plot of the show. The only thing that I don't like about this is that it makes Peter Parker seem a little bit stupid, but I'm willing to concede on that point. Overall, I didn't like these first 2 episodes very much. There were only 2 characters that I liked, being Lonnie and Norman, and honestly, I would say that that is because the voice actors are so good. So my score going into this show is going to be a 4 out of 10. I actually don't have much to say about episode 3. I'm not even gonna lie, now that I'm actually editing this, I didn't remember anything that happened in this episode, except for one scene. It's just a weird scene where Lonnie is paying for his lunch and his friend's lunches, and he can't afford it even though he gives her $20. I know the Trump tariffs are rough, but I don't think school lunches cost $10 each. Oh yeah, also Lonnie joins a gang. Basically, the point of episode 4 is Norman Osborn making new suits for Peter so he can have more tech. Oh, so it's like the same thing, but just a little bit different? Okay. I felt like the biggest thing that the show had going for it was being Tom Holland Spider-Man for people who don't like the Iron Boy Jr. stuff. But now he's just Goblin Boy Jr.
Look at little Goblin Jr. Gonna cry?
This episode also solidifies that Peter Parker is a nitwit. Every single time he goes into Norman Osborn's office, he instantly takes off his mask, showing zero regard for his secret identity, even though it just got revealed earlier due to his own sloppiness. I don't know what's with this guy. He just can't stop taking off his fucking mask. He takes it off so much that even Harry knows now. At this rate, everyone at Oscorp is gonna know. When they showed Doc Ock at the end of this episode, this made me really happy, because I'm either gonna get something that I like out of this show, or I'm gonna get a silly, horribly done Doc Ock that I can turn into content. Since it's clear that I don't like this show, it might come to a shocker to you guys that I really liked episode 5. They do something really cool with Harry by giving him the Barbara Gordon Oracle role, or for MCU fans, the Ned role.
I'm looking at porn.
But you guys know what you want me to talk about. You guys want me to talk about Lonnie Lincoln. Lonnie is my favorite character in this show and is having a character arc that is actually interesting. I love his deep personal value for his friends and family to the point that he will join a gang to save his little brother. This value, along with Eugene Burr's performance, creates the best character interaction that we see in this show. I will confidently say that his chemistry with Pearl is so good that it creates some of the best romance scenes in modern superhero media. At this point, Lonnie is still reluctant to be in this gang and is only in it to protect his family. Near the end of the episode, Lonnie is at football practice and is called by his gang's leader. He's told that they need everybody for a gang fight and that he sent somebody to his school to bring him to the hideout. We just learned in the scene prior that he's been missing practice recently due to his gang affiliations. This creates stakes that make the scene feel like this is the final choice for Lonnie when it comes to his future. He either has to ruin his life with gang violence or choose what's best for him by abandoning it, which would put his loved ones in jeopardy. And with this in mind, Lonnie misses out on football practice yet again. And at last, we are finally here, the climax of Lonnie's character arc. And I really hate to say it, it does not stick the landing. This first thing is kind of small, but I don't like that the gang fight is a fist fight. With this plot line being so adult themed, it would be nice to make it a gunfight or at least some sort of weapons. This fight makes the gang seem not as menacing, so that previous scene's tension is now ruined. The fight ends with Lonnie saving his boss from Matt Gargan and the police showing up. They get back to the gang hideout, and this is the moment that we will see how this fight develops Lonnie's character. He gets a bunch of compliments about how good at gang violence he is and gets called a cool nickname, and it makes him really excited, kind of like a dog. Even though his character arc isn't finished yet, this is just feeling way too fast for me. I don't see how this can make a guy go from, oh my god, I hate being in a gang, to, I think a gang is pretty fun. Maybe if each episode didn't have a recap and 5 minutes of credits, we would actually have time for some natural character development. Episode 5 gave me hope that maybe the show was actually good and it just needed some time to ramp up. These episodes introduced some pretty cool ideas that I actually like. But mixed in here, there are bad writing decisions, bad character interaction, and just so many things that I personally don't like. And having stuff to like about this show just makes me more upset with the problems that are in it. So overall, my rating is going down to a 3 out of 10. I actually kind of like these episodes. Mostly. There's still stuff for me to bitch about. Let's start by finishing up the Lonnie conversation. It seems that I was right about them doing it way too fast. The very first scene that we see from Lonnie after a sudden morality shift is him yelling at his girlfriend. I just really don't see how this one scene was able to change this guy's values by so much. There's also this really stupid scene where his little brother is yelling at him for saving him from the gang, and Lonnie just randomly starts talking in a deeper voice.
Yeah, made a good time. Yeah, try being a little more grateful.
Where you going now?
Anywhere you're not.
This show is just so silly. And then after this, he barely gets any screen time. I'm not kidding when I say this, that after that scene, he gets one line of dialogue for the rest of episode 6. Episode 6 is definitely the worst of these 3 episodes. It's mostly just bad character interaction between Harry and Nico. I will say though, I quite like the Daredevil stuff in this episode. The fight is really good, and on top of that, the fight introduces the conflict between Peter and Norman, and it does it in a way that I like. Seeing a new external factor questioning the main character's actions is really cool. The only thing I disliked from this fight was Peter. He will not stop talking, and I hate his dialogue. Recently, I've been considering watching Daredevil since the new show is coming out, and I still haven't seen the original, and after watching this episode, yeah, I'm watching Daredevil. It's really funny, when I wrote this script, I hadn't watched Daredevil yet, and now that I'm actually saying it, I'm fully caught up to Daredevil and Daredevil Born Again. I'm starting to notice a problem with this show, and that's how sloppy the editing is. Usually bad editing is hard for most people to notice, but this show's editing is YouTube video levels of bad.
Harry was trying to tell me that you're...
Oh, I'll let Peter know, and then...
What? No, I'm still mad at Pete.
The parts of episode 7 with Scorpion is easily the highlight of these episodes, and honestly the series so far. In this one scene, we see Norman Osborn being an asshole, Scorpion being cool as shit, Spider-Man getting his ass kicked and getting stabbed, and Green Goblin foreshadowing. Overall, the way that they're setting up the Norman Osborn conflict is great, and I'm really excited to see the rest. This episode isn't perfect though. The B-plot is kinda stupid. The B-plot is Harry Osborn trying to make up with Nico because he told her that Peter is Spider-Man. At first, this plot is somewhat okay, other than me finding Nico to be really annoying, but this plot devolves into Nico and Harry street racing. I was giggling the entire time during this scene. I'm starting to notice a pattern with this show. It shows me something that I like, then it shows me something fucking stupid. Then it shows me something that I like again, then it shows me something fucking stupid. What's weird is that with this episode drop, the things that are stupid are just silly and dumb instead of bad writing decisions. For example, in episode 8, there's a scene of Doc Ock where he has Monsters Inc. music playing while he dances and beats up a SWAT team. I was definitely right to be excited about his addition into the show.
You're playing that game again, aren't you?
Maximum pulse!
Episode 8 is definitely the most solid episode in this show. Other than the silly Dr. Octopus scene, it's pretty good. We get a really cool scene where Peter goes to Norman for father figure-like guidance because he feels that he isn't good enough. And Norman tells him this.
The Scorpion almost killed you. You know why? Because you held back, and he didn't. You don't run from power. You embrace it. With great power comes great respect.
This is a really good parallel of the classic "with great power comes great responsibility" quote to show us the flaws with Norman's ideology. Overall, this drop made me like the show a lot more. I had some scenes where I was actually enjoying myself, some scenes made me laugh my ass off, and only a few scenes made me want to set my TV on fire. I don't know why this show started being so goofy, but I like it. In most contexts, this Doc Ock scene would piss me off because it's a bad representation of his character, but I like it because it's funny. Another goofy thing that I didn't point out out is that Nico just randomly starts calling her and Peter the dynamic duo, and now everyone in school refers to them as that. Now, I could be wrong, but I don't think anyone ever called you that. I also didn't go too in depth with the Nico plotline in general because I just didn't like it. They waste moments that actually have good character conflict because Harry treats Nico's interests and hobbies as fashion accessories, which I think anyone can agree is incredibly disrespectful, and they could do some interesting conflict with this. But apparently Nico doesn't care all too much, so she just wants to boast to Harry about how good of friends Peter and her are and how they're the dynamic duo. Overall, Nico's character is really whiny, and when she said something along the lines of, "And it makes me think Peter will leave, just like everyone else," I couldn't help but laugh. So far, the show is riddled with problems, but it has a lot of cool concepts and ideas, so my rating has gone up to a 6 out of 10.
My disappointment is immeasurable, and my day is ruined.
When I said at the beginning of the video that I could not imagine it being this bad, this is what I meant. I hate these 2 episodes from the bottom of my heart. Episode 9 opens up with a great scene where Norman is visiting Doc Ock in prison just to gloat to him that he's the reason that he's in prison. I'm a sucker for Norman and Otto Octavius beef, so this scene got me into this episode. Then we move on to the climax of the Scorpion plotline, and at surface level, this fight is pretty cool. There's a lot of cool character moments and smooth animation that works really well, but there are some huge complaints I have with this part. I feel like this fight is way too easy for Spider-Man to the point that it's not believable. Just 2 episodes ago, he got his ass kicked by Scorpion, but in this episode, the fight doesn't feel too hard for him. I get that the writers of the show were going for the trope of the hero being beaten by the villain and coming back to win, but in this case, it feels undeserved. When doing this dynamic, there has to be a reason why the protagonist is much stronger now, whether it be by sheer training or going through an emotional or spiritual character arc, which they could have very well done for this character, but the only thing that happens in between the 2 fights is him getting a new suit and being told not to hold back, which doesn't impact the fight until the end. At the end of the fight, they do a parallel to Spider-Man vs. the Green Goblin in No Way Home, and a lot of people like this, but I feel as if this is such a lazy decision. In No Way Home, that fight was built up through Aunt May's death, Andrew Garfield mentioning that he got angry after Gwen's death and stopped pulling his punches, and throughout the final act, it's very clear that Peter feels this way about Aunt May's death. But in this show, it's just him listening to Norman Osborn and fighting more mean. These moments just aren't comparable, so I don't see why a parallel is necessary. They aren't even remotely the same thing, but Disney loves using any excuse so they could skip out in the writer's room. At the end of the episode, they show us at Oscorp that they used Peter's DNA to secretly make radioactive spiders. They don't give us a whole lot of what this means, but the only thing that I could think of is that Norman wants to make a Spider-Man army, which is just so silly, so I hope it's true. Overall, episode 9 was kind of bad, but not the worst thing ever. Episode 10, on the other hand, is easily my most hated episode from the series, and it's not even close. The episode opens up with Peter and his other Oscorp prodigies, who I haven't mentioned the whole video, being shown their inventions that Oscorp are going to use to create a gateway to outer space? Random as fuck, but okay. And then we are greeted by none other than Dr. Steven Stingle.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks! No. Wait.
Then we have a boring ass fight with the symbiote, but then we get to the big plot twist. And oh my god, I hate this plot twist. Basically in this fight, Doctor Strange opens up a portal that him and the symbiote go through, and the portal leads to a school. I think you can see where this is going. It turns out that fight in the first scene that I hate so much was actually Doctor Strange time traveling from episode 10, and that spider that bit Peter was made by Oscorp using Peter's blood, which makes no fucking sense, by the way. If the spider was made using Peter's mutated blood, then how was the spider even made in the first place? This is the type of thing that would be in the plot of a SpongeBob episode. This episode also tackles the idea that it is Peter Parker's destiny to be Spider-Man and that his dad is alive, which are both ideas for Spider-Man that I hate. I think the idea that it is Peter's destiny to be Spider-Man is directly against the point of Spider-Man, which is that anybody can be Spider-Man, not just Peter. I think we should all know this by now, right? Haven't we all seen Into the Spider-Verse?
Anyone can wear the mask. You could wear the mask. If you didn't know that before, I hope you do now.
And as for Peter's dad being alive, that's just a personal thing. I really don't like it when his parents are important, but I could see them doing something cool with it since he's in prison. This episode feels like a fever dream because it feels like it has nothing to do with the main plot that has been set up for most of it. They spent the entire show setting up many villains and dynamics, and this episode's story feels like it just came out of nowhere. I knew going into the show that I probably wasn't going to like it very much, but this is another level of insanity that I never thought this show would get into. I thought it was just going to be inoffensive and play it safe, but it made a lot of bold moves, and some of them actually kind of worked. And now we could finally get into why the trailer to this show made me so mad. And that is the fact that I and a lot of other people don't want this show. We don't need any more media of high school Peter Parker. It has been done into the ground at this point. But for me, there's a deeper and more personal reason for my distaste for it. As many of you know, there's a very popular Marvel show that came out recently before this that goes by the name of X-Men 97. X-Men 97 is a continuation of the classic 90s X-Men show that many people loved and grew up with. And I'm telling you, this show has the sauce. It has a full understanding of who the X-Men are and their role in the Marvel world, while also having an incredibly engaging story. And do you know what other superhero show from the 90s has a massive fan base and even ended at a cliffhanger? Yep, you guessed it, Spider-Man the Animated Series. I want Spider-Man 98 so badly that I can't even describe it. The fact that the voice actor has even confirmed that he would love to participate in it makes me so mad that Disney won't let it happen. So I hope that you can see from an outside perspective of why it makes me so mad that they're throwing this away in favor for this schlock. And with that being said, we need to get into the bottom of what my final rating of this show is and will I watch season 2. I think that this show has a lot of good ideas in it, and I can see reasons why so many people like it. But at the same time, I feel like the show has so many unaddressed problems that should be talked about, because it seems that after Disney has bought Marvel, there's been a huge disconnect and misunderstanding of Spider-Man's character. This show definitely needed more screen time as well. In hindsight, it feels like over half of season 1 was purely to set up season 2. And that raises the question, will I watch season 2? To be completely frank, fuck no. First of all, I don't want to support the release of something that I don't think should be created. I feel like that's counterproductive, as I don't want it, so why would I give the company that made it my money? Also, with the Watcher appearance at the end and the reveal from the creator that Spider-Gwen will be in season 2, I am not hopeful for anything that doesn't involve Norman Osborn. And with all that being said, I'm gonna give your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man a 4 out of 10. Thank you so much for watching. Please make sure to like and subscribe. This is one of the most fun videos that I've ever made, and I'm sorry for it taking a little bit longer because, as you guys know, I took a break to watch Daredevil. And once again, I want to clarify that if you like this show, go ahead. I'm happy for you if you like this show. It's just that I personally don't like it. Well, you're already overstaying your welcome. Get the fuck out of here.